Good evening and welcome to this episode of the Future Firefighter Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Baker, and today we have an excellent show scheduled. Tonight, joining me is Larry Conley from the Larry Conley Radio Show, a fellow fire engineering podcaster, and tonight we're going to talk about glue and the concept of glue, and I'm just honored to have Uncle Larry on the show tonight. So, Uncle Larry, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me, brother.
So if you could please, for the listeners out in the audience, if you could just share a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Scorpio and I like long walks in the park. No, seriously. My name is Larry Conley, and I'm a little over 28-year veteran of the St. Louis City Fire Department, and I'm the captain on the C shift of Truck 13, and it's a pretty busy company in the west side of northwest side of St. Louis, and we operate we call in St. Louis, we call our quints trucks. So we have a mixture of quints, hook and ladders, and pumpers. So we have a quint that we operate. I've been there, the captain on the C shift there by 11 years, and like I said, been on the fire department over 28. It was 28 years this past April, and still continues to be a fun job. I got a great crew that I work with. I got a mixture of veteran and a couple of guys that have 2 years or less on. So they always seem to send me the new people, and which is, in itself is an honor because we get to impact the new generation as they come on. So that has its own challenges and victories in itself. We also, outside of the fire department, a leadership company that we operate called Leadership Development Concepts, and I operate that with my brother David. And we travel around teaching a personal leadership class, as Chris mentioned at the beginning, called GLUE. And GLUE stands for Growing Leaders Using Empowerment. And what we try to do is really tap into bringing out the personal leadership in the audience and teach them um, significant ways to impact their personal leadership using our program. And we have a 7-step model we call the Empower model, and we teach that in either a 4-hour or 8-hour workshop. And normally, if we're doing conferences, they usually want you to do hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours. But we got something for that too. So we've been all over the world for the past little over 10 years doing that. We've been at FDIC a record amount of times over the past 9 years, and in Africa and Kenya, in Africa, and then we went to Alaska and everywhere in between. So it's been a great ride teaching and sharing this leadership concept.
Well, Uncle Larry, you've been a mentor of mine for several years, and I follow you on social media, and I love your posts and your class at FDIC, and a lot of people, they come out of your class and they love the experience of your class with your brother. So if you could just, for the listeners out in the audience, why would it be important for them to take your class?
There are a lot of great leadership classes out there. I've attended them over the years and recently become really good friends with a lot of the people. And I'm sure you consider very dear friends, and also some of the experts in the industry. And I won't start naming names because it's a lot. And but at the same token, they all have great concepts. What we try to really hone in on is our concept is that personal leadership, because we figure if you can get it right with yourself, you definitely have the tools you need to lead others. And a lot of times, what I found out, kind of the genesis of getting the class started in the first place, is because I saw a lot of people kind of putting the cart before the horse in my experiences. They would definitely shoot for the leadership roles, where it be um, promotional exams or appointments and things of that sort. And they were ready to lead people, but kind of fell short on leading themselves. And it began to show in times of crisis or critical decisions or moments of integrity, where their personal leadership, had it been fed and cultivated correctly, where they gave them a fighting chance of coming out of the crisis a lot better than going into the crisis. So when I saw that need there, that's kind of was the fuel to get glue started. So we developed a program that really hits that in the teeth during the whole workshop, and we have a mixture of lecture and also a lot of role playing and things that make it stick. This kind of play on words we do with glue. It's the leadership, personal leadership that sticks. So when you walk out of our class, you are well equipped and you have the tools if you choose to use them and practice them on a regular basis to fortify your personal leadership. And that way we feel you'll be ready for just about any challenge that you face, be it personal or be it professional. And if you get it personal in private right, you'll definitely be able to get it in public right. You got a fighting chance for that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So, I've heard this term before, and I'm not sure who coined the term, but would you agree that just even from the firefighter level that they could be a leader and have those leadership qualities?
Most definitely. I mean, people a lot of times have, in the past, and I used to hear this before we developed this concept, was that that person's a natural born leader, or that person has leadership tendencies that and it was kind of almost alluding to the fact that them being natural born leaders, they didn't really need to hone their leadership skills. And I used to kind of parallel it to, like, let's say you think Michael Jordan is arguably the best basketball player ever. Well, he still needed a coach, even though he might have a lot of natural abilities. He still needed coaches for his different skill sets, and also coaches for him being the field general on the court. So no matter where you are in that walk, whether you're a veteran or whether you are somebody at the beginning of your career, you need that guidance and you need some input. So when we talk about glue, one of the early comparisons to you when we started glue was that glue is like, let's say you built a house and you're building your house as your fire career. And as you build your house, you're building it brick by brick. And to hold that brick together, you need mortar. And that's why brick houses, can stand for hundreds of years if they are built correctly. So our belief in that is that glue is what holds it together. Glue being the mortar. If you're a new firefighter coming on the job, you're gonna find out this is a great career, but you're gonna need definitely some new mortar to help keep your career together, keep your house together. If you are a veteran, and we know over time mortar starts to erode and starts developing, wear and tear in the cracks. So you need some tuck pointing. If you need tuck pointing, then we got something for you too. So there's different parts of this glue process that we do that can affect everyone from the newest person to the wisest person on the job.
I like that metaphor. I think that's awesome. That's on point. A lot of the listeners out in the audience are on the testing circuit. They're just trying to get their start in the fire service. Do you have any advice or any suggestions or recommendations on how they can take these concepts to the testing circuit?
Well, number one, find out what as much as they can about their testing process. And then once you find out about the testing process, learn as much as you can about that particular testing process. Even though they're generally all the same, there are different testing processes whether you are first coming on the job or you're looking to be promoted, different companies and different departments have different nuances for their particular department. So I would educate myself. Information is a whole lot more accessible these days than it was back in the day when I came on about 30 years ago. So you got a lot more information that you can bring up, and once you find out the information, then just master as much as you can about the information that you gather. The second thing where I figured leadership comes in, personal leadership anyway, is number one, that's part of personal leadership, what I just stated. But the other thing is personal leadership is an attitude, and your attitude is that I'm going to, rock this test. I'm going to be number one on the test. I'm going to, just master the process. That doing that, achieving that, and then enjoying the success from it it will go a long way in what you need is one of the critical things you need on this job, and that's can do attitude. We never show up at a fire and say, "Man, this one's I've never seen one like this. This is too big. Why don't we just pack the things up and go?" That never happens. You stay there until the fight is over, and there's no fire you feel like you can't accomplish without your skill set and the skill set of your team. So attitude from the beginning is important. So if you just gonna kind of try this thing out, or I don't know if I can make it, or what anything that suggests that attitude, you probably are going to not do as well as you could if you had the right attitude. So a positive attitude and the can-do attitude is definitely what's needed, and that's probably one of the first basic steps in your personal leadership.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. That's so important to have a positive attitude. And let me tell you, out on the testing circuit out here in California, out on the West Coast, it takes about 5 years to get that permanent full time career position. So a lot of the candidates out here, they get rejected so much, and they want to give up. And I talk to candidates all the time that just uh, they want to give up on the testing process, and I try to tell them, hey, have a positive attitude and keep on going, and don't give up. And it's so important. This job doesn't come easy, and for those that strive for it, they're usually rewarded if they just keep with it.
Thinking to myself, that's a long process, and with that being a process, and everybody has variations of things. I always tell people, especially when I taught recruit classes in the past, I've taught recruit classes, and it's added up to a pretty significant number of firefighters that are on the job now. Some of the recruits I've taught or battalion, well, at least one is a battalion chief now, and others, many others are captains and things like that. But I was going to say that one of the things that goes along with that you have to have focus, and like you said, it's a long process there, but everyone has their different type of processes. I know a lot of guys, or a lot of like guys and gals who apply for this job in the city of St. Louis. It's not just like going to a fast food restaurant and you sign your application and you start next week and you get a uniform and you know you're ready to go. There's definitely a long process, and you have to want it bad enough. And those who survive the process usually have a better chance of making do with this great career.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the process, and you have to trust the process. And there's a reason why uh, the process has different steps and obstacles and hoops and jumps that you have to go through in order to get the position. So how could you take the glue concepts and the mortar, the scaffolding? I love the analogies of the building, and that's all the basis, like the foundation. And then throughout the career, you build the walls, and then you put the roof on, and you got to keep building that over your career, right? Because once you build the house, you gotta still work on those concepts throughout your career, not just the first year of the job, but like you mentioned, and your 20 plus years on the job.
You're right about that. You have to continue to build. Houses need maintenance, so if you want to use the house concept, you just don't build a house once and leave it alone, and hopefully it's going to have some storms. It's going to go through. It's going to get weathered some, and with that being the case, if you don't take care of the the weathering that goes through the storms that you go through, it's a good chance that your house will start to crumble. And it's a lot of times we equate that to people who don't constantly fortify themselves on the job. They look weathered. They get 10, 20 years on the job and they still are dealing with the concepts of when they first came on the job and when they first built their house. And that might not fly in things of today. Fires burn different today than they did 20 years ago, and plus 20 years ago and beyond, because the building material is different. But if you're not privy to that, then you think everything still burns like it did back in 1989 and before then. You might be setting yourself up for failure. So constant knowledge upgrades and constant maintenance and sometimes I use the analogy of a garden. There's no maintenance-free garden. You start cultivating your garden. You have a beautiful garden. You worked on it all day Saturday. You come out Sunday afternoon with your cup of coffee and you checking out your garden, looking at your handiwork, and what do you see? A weed. So you have to pull the weed, because if you don't, the weed overtake your beautiful garden. So it's constant maintenance. There's no such thing as a maintenance-free garden, no such thing as a maintenance-free house. So anything worth having is worth maintaining. Relationships, you have to maintain them. You as an individual, your fitness, you have to maintain it. So your valuable career is no different. You have to maintain it. You have to constantly feed it. You got to read up on what's going on, and sometimes you have to read up on things to figure out what's just a flash in the pan fad, and what's a tried and true principle. So sometimes you have to figure that out, and you figure that out only again by investing into your career, into your future. So, I always encourage recruits and new people come to my job, to my engine house, and us like-minded veterans who are constantly thinking along those lines. We are constantly um, looking for what can we continue to do better, and we only get that by reading, attending conferences, lately webinars and things of that sort, to constantly feed our source. And the day that we think that we're the smartest firefighters, is the day that we're the dumbest firefighters, in my opinion. So we have to constantly feed that to make sure we stay sharp.
I kind of like the analogy of like a pressure cooker, entry level firefighter, the probationary firefighter with the task book and with all the checkoffs that they have to complete. And then you add in the constraints of time, and then you add in all of studying. It's similar to the analogy of a pressure cooker. And it's so important to survive that first year on the job. So, what other advice and suggestions could you give the listeners out in the audience on how they can weather that pressure cooker and weather that storm?
Well, once again, it gets back to what I said earlier about attitude is everything. And as my mother always said, the time is going to pass anyway. So ask yourself this: on the other end of this, where do you want to be? Do you want to be someone who tried the fire service and failed, or do you want somebody who made it through it and can look back and they're better for it? So I just say it gets down to attitude, but you got to fall in love with the process on a lot of these things, and that's a lot of times when we live in a world where you got people who believe things are instant. You got instant coffee and microwave this and touch this and push button that and voice command that, and everything is just so automatic. Sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around something that's going to take a long process to take place. It doesn't bother me because I grew up in an era where there was no microwave, or you had to change the channel on the TV by turning it, or you had to walk places. So I was used to processes that are different than the processes a lot of our kids today will never experience. So sometimes they parallel that to, well, how come this is so hard? But principally speaking, anything that's going to last takes time to build. And I think when you develop that attitude that this will take, this will make me better, and let me just fall in love with the process, the time goes actually pretty quick. But if you are complaining and moaning and why oh why and that kind of deal and don't understand that concept, it's going to be a long, however long that probationary time is for you. So I just say fall in love with the process. Understand that the time is going to pass anyway, whether you decide to do this or not, and stay focused and make have fun with it. I'm the kind of person, if it's something I don't really want to do, as much as I can, I try to find the, not that takes away from the seriousness, but I just try to have fun with it. And when I have fun with it, it just makes the process a whole lot easier for me to deal with, because there are certain processes there's just no getting around. And as a firefighter, you shouldn't want to get around it. You should want to master things that takes a while to develop, because you don't know where you're going to find yourself on this job. I mean, you go from um, think about, and I have to, my hat's off to wildland firefighting, man. I mean, because I'm just a urban kick in the door, crawl in, and get it type of firefighter. But wildland firefighting, you just don't put that out today. It takes a time, and it takes planning, and it takes work, and it takes digging and clearing, and I mean it's a whole process. So we're gonna be here for a minute. Imagine if the attitude is like, how come this thing won't go out today? Of the teams on the front lines, they would be very disappointed. So you gotta, so there is, even in the fire service, in the fire service itself, of doing certain aspects of firefighting, there's a process whether you want it or not. So everything is not always instant. So I think as long as we understand that, some things are just a process, and the process is in place to make you better for saving your life, saving your team's life, and primarily saving the lives of the people we serve, um, it won't be as bad as you make it out to be.
I completely agree. And mentioned wildland fires out here in California. We just hovered around the million acre mark. We have
Woo.
two of the largest lightning caused wildland complex fires burning right now in the Lake Napa area. We also have the Santa Clara unit, and we also have the Santa Cruz unit. We had a lightning siege that came through on Saturday and Sunday of the week prior, and right now they're fighting a little over 387 wildland fires, and I believe the total was roughly around 10,000 lightning strikes.
Mm.
And so, plus a record heat wave, we had
Mhm.
a record heat wave where even in Death Valley here in California, it got up to 130 degrees.
Helmets off to you guys.
Yeah, so right on point. Wildland firefighting. I have friends that are driving out from New Jersey, and they're set to get in Redding, Northern California. They're set to get there tonight. So the SOS has been put out, and roughly 14,000 firefighters are out there on the front lines, fighting those wildland fires here in California.
Heard that, bro.
Yeah, so we appreciate all the help. And, I've always been, when I look at it, you have to enjoy the ride and that experience. You just got to enjoy it. And what I like about you, Uncle Larry, is you're always smiling. And I follow you on social media, and you always have a good time. And I think that's important. So for the listeners out in the audience that want to follow you and your travels around the world and to Kenya and Alaska, how would they follow you on social media?
Go to where'swaldo.com. No, I'm just playing. Uh, we we're on Facebook, and we have leadership development concept page on Facebook, the Glue Nation page, and my own personal page. We also, you could check our website. By the end of the year, we're going to upgrade it, so it's going to look a lot more dynamic than it looks now. But that's at www.gluenationldc.com, and usually it tells where we're going and what we're doing. which hasn't been a lot this year because everything's shut down because of the pandemic. So you never know. You're right about one thing. We try to have fun with it, and not that it takes away from the seriousness of it, but I just enjoyed the job. I enjoyed the career. I didn't realize I was going to enjoy it this much. Honestly, when I first got the job, it was just sound like a good civil service job, and that's all I was interested in, and some stability and helping people, and that was my two main things. I came to love it when we started teaching. Made me love it even more, and definitely have made me start reading and taking more classes actually, because as much as I love to teach, I love sitting in interesting classes that really changes my paradigm about what I'm doing. And so the evolution of our career, our industry, is what keeps me smiling. Seeing new people come in, and that light kind of goes off with them, that wow, I found a family, I found a career, I found a great career. Those are things that keep me smiling. And then realizing, things that we didn't even realize back 30 years ago that we realize it now. I mean, that personal care, that personal leadership, that self care is so important. We didn't think about that because it sounds good just to say, I don't care about myself, I just care about the citizen. But in the personal leadership class we teach, we really stress why it's so important to take care of yourself so you can take care of the public for the long haul. And I think that's something that we need to instill in new firefighters coming on the job. It's not putting yourself first in the sense of you're making yourself better than the public that you were charged to serve. It's putting yourself in so you can show up and do the job. If you're getting plenty of sleep, if you, as my friend Dean Ali likes to say, if you taking time out for mindfulness, if you are exercising regularly, if you are cultivating your personal relationships so they don't take over, taking or they don't take away from your quality of work when you get to work. When you take care of all these little things and taking care of yourself, then you can truly give all you can to who we're charged to serve. And a lot of times people do that. They'll do it, but they don't take care of themselves first. And what they end up saying is that the narrative in their head is that I don't care about me. I just care about taking care of the citizens that we are charged to serve. It sounds good, but it's backwards. Take care of yourself. So you can truly give it your all. If you're tired, if you're preoccupied, if you're out of shape, if you're not up on what the latest information is on this particular building instruction, if all of that lacks, and these are your examples that you have when you come in the firehouse, then as a new firefighter or as a young firefighter on the job, be that change agent to make sure that you can give 100%, because people who claim they want to put their lives on the line sounds like good on the t-shirt. But if basically your personal management and your personal leadership only lets you bring 57% to the firehouse when you get there, you're not good for the team. You're not operating at your optimum level. And we already have a job that, and a lot of new firefighters, you'll find this out. As great as this job is, it does take away a lot from you if you're not diligent about trying to replenish every step taken. So when you do sleep, when you do invest in yourself, when you do exercise, then you have a better chance of giving 100%, because we work a weird shift. We work 24-hour shifts. Some places work 48-hour shifts, and when you could be up and down a lot during that time and interrupting your REM sleep, and interrupting any kind of thing that will naturally replenish you, it's automatically taken away. So you almost have to work overtime and be very intentional about replenishing yourself so you can give your best to the public. So um, if nothing else, learn that early in your career so you don't end up cashing a pension check and then next week you're dead of a heart attack.
So Uncle Larry's travels. You went back to school, right? You're working on your degree.
Yep, I got homework when I finished this. Still working on it. I went back to school. I started school years ago, a little bit before I came on the fire department. Then took a couple of classes when I came on, and just let life get in the way. You start raising your family, and that turns into working extra hours on second jobs and things just to make ends meet. So school got put on the back burner, and then my kids are pretty much grown and gone, and one has finished school, and we got two others in school now. It just seemed like the right time to finish it. So from a personal standpoint, people always say, "Well, what are you trying to do? You're trying to work somewhere else." If there's an opportunity presents itself, then definitely would take advantage of it. However, the primary thing is my personal leadership again, and my personal investment in just wanting to finish what I started. So I'm in Columbia Southern right now. It's an online course which took some time to get used to because I'm a brick and mortar guy, and so it took some time to get used to doing everything online, and it takes a lot of discipline because nobody's there to watch you or manage your time for you. And between traveling, working at the firehouse, and other responsibilities, it can be a challenge. But I've just decided, like I said, once again, with a great attitude and having fun with it, that I just make it happen. So currently, I'm carrying an A average, which I'm glad about that because there have been a few rough semesters. I know I had algebra earlier this year, and I still don't understand why anybody would create something that has numbers and letters tied together, and they want you to figure it out. So, but we got through it and made it work. But yeah, Columbia Southern University. I'm doing the bachelor's in fire administration and a master's in organizational leadership. And depending on how I'm feeling, I might just go ahead and try to get that PhD because I like the way Dr. Conley sounds. So we'll see. But I'm always swinging to knock out the park. So knocking out the park for me to get the PhD. So it's been a challenging and great experience all at the same time. And the good thing about it is one of my sons is a sophomore in college, one is a freshman. So we have fun with each other, just all of us being college guys now. We might start our own fraternity. I don't know. So we'll see how that works out.
Well, I'm proud of you, Uncle Larry, and being a college professor myself and teaching and giving back, and I look at it as a lifelong learner. I'm still in school, and I'll probably be in school the rest of my life. You know,
Mm.
and I'm a brick and mortar kind of guy too, and you think it might be hard taking classes online, try to teach classes online. It's
Yeah,
crazy. So I'm proud of you and
everything that we do in this, continued education, continued connection with each other, seeing each other at FDIC to me was always kind of the culmination of a year of hard work, in our respective cities and fire departments. So it's like, man, I get to I run into Chris Baker or run into Bobby Halton or run into Rick Lasky or Frank Vescruso or, just Jim Duffy, just a number of people, Reggie Freeman, and, just the Lenny Carmichael. If I keep going, it will be all night. But just, you just run into these great minds. And it's kind of like when you get that first initial handshake, a hug, it's like, we made it back here another year. How you doing, brother? How you doing, sister, or whatever? And just the whole smile and look and glad to see you and what's been going on with you and glad you made it back safe because everybody who comes to FDIC one year, a lot of times we lose them and we find that out in the opening ceremony when they roll the names of the ones we've lost. So something you just your spirit looks forward to, and when it didn't happen this year, I just felt something was lost, and so you almost like I was holding my breath to April, and then when it didn't happen, somebody said, well, you got to hold your breath another year, possibly, because we got a little thing called a pandemic that took over. So hopefully, like you said, we'll make it back next year, and we can have that collective sigh and be glad to see each other in fellowship and learn as we've done so many years in the past.
Definitely. Well, Uncle Larry, I want to thank you for the gift of your time and for coming on to the Future Firefighter podcast. If you could just share your contact information, your email address for the listeners out in the audience that would like to contact you.
Sure. Contact me at the email address. You can reach me. It's at Conley, Conley, E is in Tom, L is in locomotive, C is in cat, TLC 13 at gmail.com. You can check out our webpage at www.gluenationldc.com. Reach me through there, or like I said, check me out on Facebook. You can instant message me there. And so it's a lot of ways to get in touch with me if you want to, and I'll be happy to pass on any advice or maybe learn something from whoever reaches out as well. You do a great job here, Chris, and I think it's a great service that you're addressing this demographic of the future firefighter, and we're in a unique position to influence that direction in a positive way. So thanks for your leadership and your vision on this whole thing.
Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to getting a hug from you the next time I see you. So thank you, Uncle Larry.
All right, thank you.